I know, Zero. And that's the thing, you got to love it. And I think too many people are afraid to fail in front of others. A lot of people want to think that they have it all figured out. And, that's the fun part. You got to fail to really learn too. I think there's the old saying, you either, you either succeed or you learn, you know? Because if you just know what to do and you just hammer it out, like, yeah, I could have picked a easier distro. I could have picked something that I'm more familiar with and then just been like, look at me. I'm so smart. I got it done in 30 minutes. But you don't learn anything. A lot of people just want to stay in that comfort zone. How do I find a mentor? I never had a mentor. I've had people I've worked with that were smart, and I was able to look at them and then go, hey, I'm looking for this, but I don't think a mentor is something I've ever had. I've always just been kind of a loner, and I'm not much of a people person, believe it or not. I can talk to people. I'm good with people. It's just it's not something I actively seek out. Like, I would hate to report to somebody and just be mentored. It would be weird. So a lot of times I find people that have like, I think back, a good friend of mine, Mike. He was extremely talented. He's set up. He's probably a lot of stuff that you guys watch, like Crunchyroll, and I think was it Funimation or something. He did all their server backends and did a lot of the networking that runs all of that. And he also, when I mentioned that Citrix farm earlier, I called him up at midnight, and he worked till 7 in the morning helping me get the base of that Citrix farm done. And I find people that fill in my weak spots, if that makes sense. Like, things that I'm weak in, I try to find someone that's better than me or knows that better than me. And then I'm like, hey, let me see what you're doing here. Or maybe just, shadow them for a little bit. Or just look at what they did and be like, hey, what's this? And you don't necessarily need to do this in person. You could do it through a GitHub article or GitHub online. Like, right now, I can give you an example. I go through this. It's not like it just stopped learning. Like, if we look at our PRs here, there's a lot of really good PRs that have happened. And, like, let's see. I think this was just a basic PR, but we had a big PR in here. Ooh, I think it was typos, minor bugs. I think this was a bigger PR. But there was a lot of stuff in here where I think Derp did some run space things, which I'm not great at. I'm terrible at them. And I got to look at that code and go, oh, okay, get a little piece of knowledge. You don't learn it overnight, but getting that little bit every single second. And then you look at other stuff that people have committed. This is a great way to fill in knowledge gaps because everyone has them. And nobody knows everything. It's just going through and go, okay, well, there's this, and this, and just filling those knowledge gaps in. So I think the big thing is not mentorship, but more of just learning, continually learning. What's your advice? I would say if you can set up some type of test environment, kind of like what I do here on the stream, just something at your home, and then just be pounding around in it, break stuff, and then fix it, and then break it again, and then fix it, and just keep doing that until you get really good at fixing broken stuff. So my advice is break stuff, but preferably not in production. At your job. Don't do that. Don't take that out of context. But yes, that's how you really get it. And then when crap inevitably hits the fan in your business or in your production and you go, "Oh, I know how to fix that." And then you fix it and then your boss sees that you fixed it. Dude, they will think you are just a god. So, it's really that's what I say to folks. Learn how to fix stuff, but break it is how you learn how to fix it, and you do that in a test environment, preferably. And probably the other thing I would say to someone just starting out is it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. That's something think is lost on a lot of people, where a lot of folks just focus on I know how to fix all this stuff. That means I'm going to get a job. And that's not what that means. That just means you know how to fix a lot of stuff. Now it's really getting in there so you can fix stuff. And that's where knowing people comes in handy. And that comes usually with job experience or getting your foot in the door through an internship or however you can get in. It's that getting that first couple bits of experience is the most difficult. And then learning how to interview properly. I can't tell you how many skilled people I've gone in, interviewed, and I'm like, I'm sure they make a great technician, but man, they suck at the interview process, and I can't hire them because I know if I pass them up to my boss or the owner or whoever it is above me, they're going to interview them and go, Titus, were you smoking crack? This person cannot talk to people. And I'm like, no, they're good, but they can't pass the interview process. So that's another skill I think that is lost. Learn how to interview properly. Be prepared to actually guide the interview. Because as an interviewer, interviewing people, I hate asking questions. But it's like, hey, this in try to expand and guide that interview. And whatever it is, they'll be like, what's your greatest weakness? Or some BS canned question. Usually when you're starting off, you're answering canned questions from an interviewer that's pretty inexperienced, because most of them are like help desk positions and things that don't really matter as much. So usually the interviewer's new as well. So you got two people that don't know how to either answer the questions, but you also have the guy that doesn't know how to ask the questions. And those are the greatest interviews to go on, because you can just take that interview from that person and literally guide the entire thing, and they're going to love you for it because they're not going to be uncomfortable asking all these canned questions when they hit a lull spot. So learn how to interview. Oh my gosh, it's such an important skill. And I think most people don't know how to interview properly.